welcome. My name's Sam and this is The Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to our week of scrapbooking pages. So we're doing project 1 today, project 2 on Wednesday and project 3 on Friday. So this is the project Made with Sweetness. If you didn't see my video this morning where I ran through all the papers that would be included in this kit, pop back and have a look if you want to see what was in the kit. But first of all, an apology if we do hear an excessive amount of barking from Bootsy today. It's because the neighbours have got building work, and every time the builders come out of their front door and go to their van, Bootsy has the feeling that she needs to let me know. So apologies in advance. Okay, so this is strawberry slush, 12 by 12, and then I've got the patterned paper as well. I'm just going to stick those down and then we will run through a few things. I've got my big removable glue dots. I'm going to put one in each corner just to keep them in place. It's just so much easier when you're trying to stick things down to have these. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up do not stock these, but if you want them, I got mine from Amazon. And I don't think they were that expensive. I can't actually remember, to be perfectly honest with you. But I know I bought 2 packets, so I don't think they were that expensive. Anyway, here we go. I'm just going to stick this one down. So there's a little bit of prep in this one, this kit. If you have chosen to buy the embossing folder to go with it. Now that's the embossing folder that has the ladybugs on it. I will show you that in 2 seconds. Put that still there and that one down there. Okay, so the embossing folder is Ladybug Picnic, which is this one here. It's ladybugs and little flowers. In this particular double page spread, there comes 6 strawberry slush circles. They're printouts. They've got the project 1 written on them. What they ask you to do is to run them through the embossing folder like so. So you can see, you can hopefully see that you've got the ladybugs and the flowers come through there. You do that to all 6 of them. And then the 6th one you need to cut in half. So I've done that bit already just to save time. I have now, obviously, if you haven't invested in the embossing folder, don't panic. The circles work exactly the same. It's just they don't have a texture to them. Or you could use any other embossing folder that you have. So the other thing I have done is I have popped out all of the ephemera that I'm going to be using for the pop-out ones. I've still left the sticky ones on the sheet, which I will pick out and use in a second. But I've popped those ones out because it's easier to work on those. And one of the things that came out was this. Now, this is used for a photograph. Now, as usual, I don't have my photographs ready. And what you need to do is pop your photograph onto this because it's going to become a pocket. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick that down, and I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal. Oh. There we go. There we go. Oops. And that will lay just on there where your photograph's going to go. And when my photograph does arrive, I can simply pop it over the top and I know it's already in place. So that's the first thing I need to do. Then the second thing I need to do is you get this long piece, and what you'll find is the photographs will go one across the top here, and then you'll have 2 on the side like so. But there is a pocket created with this which goes underneath here. So the next thing you need to do is to turn this over like so, pop it in place, because what you want to do is you want to take your tear and tape and run it down the sides so that it becomes a pocket and it's going to work. So I'm going to make sure that goes right up to the side all the way down like so, and then I can tear it, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with the other side. Make sure that that's in there. like so. That'll go down all the way down there. Then what we're going to do is going to do a piece at the top, like that. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is in place. I'm happy where it is. So I'm looking at it to be about there, I think. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of sticky tape at the bottom. And that will help the card not to get lost all the way down to here, because it will stick it down. So I think that is all the preparation I need to do for this. I think we can now begin. So I've got my instructions. I've turned to page 5. So all the papers have been cut out. I'm going to turn to page 5 and we can begin with our first work. So what it's suggesting is a piece of this beautiful strawberry slush paper to go up here. This can be stuck straight down. You don't get this one in the paper pack. This one is specifically just for the workshop kit. So if you were going to replicate this with the paper packs, you'd have to find another piece to go on the top here. So the next thing to do is our checkers. Now that can be laid straight across like this. And I think on this occasion, or you could overlap it. But I think on this occasion, I'm actually going to have it run alongside, because the blue pocket that we've just created will go over and these lines will be covered. Okay, so let's just add, let's try that. My tear and tape's not working. Not my tear and tape, my Stampin' Seal's just being a little bit of a prima donna today. There we go. Right, so I'm going to bump that right up and make sure it's down at the edge. There we go. So that's that one. Now we can take this piece and take our pointy tool and just peel back or peel off our tear and tapes. Like so. So the pocket needs to come from the left hand side. So I'm going to make it roughly halfway across, like so. Pop it down. And now we can pop our photograph into place. So let's make sure it's in there. Look at that. Perfect. There we are. And that makes it. So that's where our photograph comes in. And you can just put your date on there of the photos. So that works very well. So the next thing to do is to put the photographs down, or work out where they're going to go. So one will go here, as I said, and you will have you'll have one going here and one going here. Now this is where 3 of your circles will come into play. So they're suggesting that you have one up here. Okay, you're going to have one over here on the right hand side. Now obviously, because we've stuck that down, it will go under here, she says, with the photographs, like so. And this is why we're putting these in place before we put the photographs down, so that we know that they are all in the correct place. And then this one will come down here, like so. So once your circles are in place and you're happy where they are, let's get rid of that bit, you can just attach them. So let's take that, just put a bit there, and that will go there. Oops, and move down, but I think that's fine. Yeah, then we're going to do the same with this one. And that will come across here. Oops, she says, try again. There we go. perfect. And then I've got my bottom one, which is down here. So again, we'll just put a line across there, and the bottom one will go in place there. Now we can stick down our photograph placelets or your photographs. So this for me, it's just the photograph placemat. So let's pop that down, one down there. And then we've got the two. What's it doing that today? I don't know. I'm going to level that one up to that level there, but bring it in so there's a bit of the blue showing on this side. And I'm going to do, so I'm just going to bring that one slightly down. There we go. Leaving a gap in between, and then the photograph will go into place there. So what we're left now with is our things to stick down and make the overall image pretty. So I am going to put this one on a dimensional. Reason being is if it's raised up, it means the photographs are easier to slip in. So let's bring in the dimensionals. And my dimensionals will go at the bottom. So I'm going to have one down there, one down there, and one down there. So you can take that off. Okay, whoops. And then we can place those happily in the position, knowing that that will lift up and the photographs will go in place, no issues. So let's add the other. So we've got a strawberry to go here, and we've got the blueberries to go here as well. Now these can be stuck down, but my suggestion is that you only stick, so for the strawberry we only stick down the bottom bit like so. Again, that means it can be lifted up to put the photograph underneath, and then you could, let's lift that one with a dimensional. Where have I gone? There they are. It's up to you whether you lay it flat or rise it up, but for this particular one I think I'm going to rise it. There we go, just like that. And then I'm going to add some flowers on this side. So I'm going to take one of these and one of the daisies. Okay, I'm going to need a leaf. That's about right. So that is going to, the decoration is going to come on this bit here. So the leaf will probably lie flat. Pop it out here, and we can use our Stampin' Seal. I'm just going to bring it out slightly, because obviously the flowers will come into play around about here. So let's think. Let's lay that one flat and put that one on a dimensional. So we're going to need a dimensional, but we're going to need a small dimensional. I'm going to bring my scissors in, and I'm just going to cut one of these little corners, and then that can just go in the middle of my daisy like so. Perfect. So that's going to go there, and then I will bring my Stampin' Seal for this bit here, and then that can sneak its way under there without any issues. Perfect. So that's the bottom section done. We've done the side for the photograph. So now I want to decorate just these two other circles. So up here I'm going to note another strawberry. So let's pop the strawberry. We can put the strawberry underneath the photograph this time. Yeah, let's do that. So let's put the, there we go, under the photograph. There we go. Then we're going to put one of the flowers over the top. So again, that one's going to be a dimensional, for as previously stated. We can get the photograph underneath. So that's going to go. What I'm doing is I'm making sure the edge of this dimensional rests against here, Doesn't go any further, but it does what the suggestions are, that the flower comes over the photo, but at least you can get it underneath. So that's that, perfect. And then let's do the flowers on this side. So again, we need a leaf. So that will go, say, there. We're going to put that on a dimensional. So let's stick that one down with Stampin' Seal. There we go. Take that off. That one will go there. And then I've got my little daisy, which I could have just underneath, poking out like so. So let's do that. And we can use the Stampin' Seal again. Perfect. Right, so the only other thing now, put these aside, is to bring in the sticky labels for this side. And these are all about bumblebees. So I've got 2 bumblebees over here. So 1. There we go. And 2. Let's see where else we can put a bumblebee. Oh, just 1 more. And that's going to go up here. Or do I want it over here? I think I'm actually going to put it here. There we go. So that's my little bumblebees. So that is the layout for the first side of the double page spread. Let's go on to the other side and we can begin. Let's take these off for a second and bring in our designer series paper that we need. And there are 3 pieces for that. So we've got this large piece, which is going to be obviously the central focus piece. Okay, then you've got a piece of lined designer series paper, and that's where you're going to do your journaling. And then we've got our other piece which will go under here like so. So that's layers again. So those can all be stuck down with our stamp and seal. So let's do that. Now, the instructions will give you precise placement for each of your papers and your embellishments. I'm doing it more to eye, roughly where I think they are suggesting. I'm just going to make sure that that piece will go underneath before. There we go. That's it. So I'm just going to put, there we go. And that will just hold that into place for me. Make sure I'm happy with that. There we go. And that's now in place. Right, so again, it's time for the photograph, but this time it is only 1 photograph we're going to use. It's a 6x4, and it is going to be a landscape. And that will go onto there. Now, before I stick it down, I want to make sure that I don't need to put any circles down, which I do. So I need to put 1 circle to go underneath there. Then I've got 1 circle that goes here. Okay, and then the half circle, if you remember when I cut it, that comes along here, like so. That way, they're all in place and we can decorate. So let's do that before we stick down the photo placement. That's 1. I go underneath. Wait, well, let's do that. There we go. So I've got a bit of the blue showing as well. And then we'll take a bit there. And then we can pop that under there. Very pink, this double page spread, so the blue really does make it pop. Okay, so we can now put this down. So this is where the photograph will go. I'm just going to line the top of my photograph up with one of the lines on there, and it should line up with the line down there, which looks like it does. So that's where my photograph will go. So now it's time to do the embellishments again. So really it's just the flowers and the leaves, and then the bumblebees should we need it. And there's a few extras just down here, which I will show you in a moment. Right, so over here we've got 1 flower, 2 flowers, and the leaf. I'm just going to roughly put them in place and then we can put them up. Then I've got 1 flower, 2 flowers here, and then there's 1 to go here. Right, let's put these 2 into place first, and I'll show you why, because the other ones are stickers. So we're going to go Stampin' Seal, pop it out over there. Again, so these are going to go over, so I'm going to need a dimensional. So that will come up. Make sure it's not under. There we go. So that's 1. And then I've got the daisy, which I'm going to do on the dimensional as well. So it's going to be one of those little half ones. Again, like so. Now obviously when you get your kit, you can put your embellishments wherever works best for you. I'm just going with what the instructions are telling me. Now this one is to be stuck down, so I'm going to stick this down, make sure the glue isn't on the paper yet. So I'm going to do my journaling, and I'm going to do the same, but this time I'm going to stick this one underneath like so. So let's give that a bit of Stampin' Seal as well. Perfect. There we are. Now here is suggesting, which we're going to use, is the jam pots. So we need this large jar. Now I don't want it, because I've got the margin down here, I don't mind too much of it going on here, but I don't want it on the sticking down on the photograph. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it on the back of my hand and try and take off as much of the stick as possible. As you can see, my hand is now sticky. Because obviously I don't want it to stick on the photograph or this before the photograph comes down. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Then I'm just going to run a bit of my Stampin' Seal along here. She says, there we go, that's better. And then that will stick it into place for me and hopefully won't stick down on the photograph. Okay, that's that one. Then we've got the little red jam jar. Here we go. And that's going to go roughly about there. Again, it's just going to go. So instead of taking it all off, I'm just going to run the top of it. Take the stick off the top part as much as possible, leaving the bottom bit sticky. And then that can go into place like so. There we go. Then our flower will come here. So I think we could probably put that one up on a dimensional. So let's bring in those dimensionals again. Again, another half a dimensional as it's on the daisy. Oops, snotched my finger. Perfect. And the other thing it's suggesting is a spoon. So for the jam pots, so let's take this one. There we go. That goes that way. So we're going to have to work round the writing, aren't we? There we go. Make sure that bit won't stick down. And then let's have some bees. We've got some more bees. I've got one here. There's one there. So I'm going to give that some bee up there. And let's have some B with these. Let's have a B. Not some, let's have a B over here with the jam. And there you are. It has come together really quickly. Again, as usual, once all the prep is done, these things do come together so quickly. So thank you ever so much for joining me today. I hope you like this design. I actually think it's quite bright and refreshing. Loving the blue, the Misty Moonlight, and it's popping out. Really works well. So this is project 1. Do join me on Wednesday and we will do project 2. So take care. Thanks for joining me. Bye.